Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this night. We really do appreciate it. Hope you'll come back often and tell your friends about us. Before we start the show, I'd like to introduce Father Ron Walters for our evening prayer. Father Walters.
Creator of the world, as modelers and makers, we recognize the intricacy and beauty of our world. We thank you for the vision and the artistry you have given us. Continue to bless us with your creative spirit. Amen.
Father, thank you so much for all of your participation in our show. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind everybody that if you have not become a subscriber to our website, newtracksmodeling.com, I hope you will. Therefore, you'll get the login links for each one of our shows and be able to find out who's going to be on them and what's generally happening with our programs. So again, our website is newtracksmodeling.com. Also, next week, we have a very special treat for you. We're announcing the winner of our first year scholarship program, and we hope you can join us. We're really looking forward to it. It's the conclusion of a very successful first year for the scholarship program, and we're really looking forward to have everybody meet the winner of the contest and find out about all the details involved in it. The MyBuild is tonight, as you know. The one after tonight is on September the 20th. And I don't think that we have any special for that September show. Is that right, Chris? As I say, I don't think that we have a special for the September show, but Chris will be on shortly to host tonight's segment, and we can ask him again.
For the MyBuild, no, there's no specific subject for the September MyBuild.
Gotcha. Thank you. So with that said, let's start the show for tonight because we've got a pretty full one, and we want you all to have as much time to enjoy it as we can. First person I'd like for you to meet is Jamie Bothwell. Jamie is an S-scale modeler, and he was chairman of the S-scale annual convention put on by the National Association of S-Gaugers in Harrisburg this year. And he's here this evening to tell you a little bit about what's going to be on the tap for 2024, because he's also been selected to be chairman of that convention. So, Jamie, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jim. Selected is probably a kind way. I'm more like I got suckered into it, or I was silly enough to volunteer. So anyway, we ran this convention like most S-scale conventions. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of, people got together. Trains were bought, trains were sold. We did do something a little unique, is that this was a kit that we offered. We gave this kit out to everybody that registered for the convention. This is the Union Fuel Company's office in Easton, Pennsylvania, basically. It's a little smaller, but we just thought instead of another mug or a bag or whatever, everybody could use a kit. So, and then of course we'll have people bring them back next year. We're having a contest. So whoever's got the best kit. So, what I would tell you about the convention, really, if you want to, let me just see. Oh, darn, where did that go? All right, I had this. I was all set to do this, and where did it go? There, nope, not that. There we go. Okay, this is the NASG's website, nasg.org, and if you go there, oh, geez, there's another picture of me. You there's an opening picture and you click in it, NASG.org. If you want to see about the national convention, come over here to NASG, click that right over here, annual convention. And you would go to past conventions because now it's a past convention and you click, and there we are. Okay. And so then there's a picture of a building. This was the best in show in the contest. It's a house under construction. But if you click right here where it says visit, there's a bunch of photos of various activities. And I won't go through it all. If you're interested, you can go through and take a look. It's loading up a little slow, but there's many, many, many pictures on there that will show you all the things that we did. We ran 3 tours. We ran a tour to Horseshoe Curve that also took in the Railroaders Memorial Museum. We ran another tour to Gettysburg. Those 2 both ran on the Wednesday. And then Thursday, we ran 1 tour to East Broad Top where everybody rode the train and had a shop tour. And so that was great. And then again, if this were to load, you could see all the pictures. There's photos of stuff. And then there's a bunch of pictures of me handing out the awards at for the modeling and whatever. Okay. So there's a little description of all the clinics that we presented. We presented about a dozen clinics. There's Scott's building under construction again. And there's some more pictures of, again, if they loaded, you could see that there'd be pictures of all the contests. The Greeley's contest, that's like I say, I've been running this for a while, that we all kind of start with the same model and you bring it back and what can you do with it? And so this year, of course, the Greeley's model will be the Union Fuel Company. So we'll see, hopefully we'll have a lot of entrants. It says, see you next year. And again, there would be a photo of this. The photo is it's actually a photo of this right here. That's our poster that we had up. And what we did was we took the poster and I'll just hold you. You can see we crossed out, we added Susquehanna 2 to it. But the one thing I would tell you is if you look at the poster, let me just, I'll just leave that for a sec. If you look at the poster, it says the dates say, the photo of the poster, it says we're going to go July 24th to the 27th. But we've actually moved it forward a week. So we're going to go from July 17th to July 20th. So if you're curious, as we like to say, come on out and give us a check. We'll be in Harrisburg for those like 4 days. Run some different tours, of course, because people don't want to go back to the same thing again twice. We're looking at trying to run a tour to Amish country because that's reasonably close. We're trying to arrange an RDC car to take us on a tour of the Blue Mountain and Reading. But again, these tours are all sort of, up in the air at this point, possibly Strasburg Railroad, we'll all have to see. So, whatever works out. So anyway, here's some of the pictures are loading. But now that I've got your attention, I would like to point out that if you are at all curious, the NASG website is a great place to look because we've got all these, our website guy is amazing. Every day he spends hours fixing up our website. And but he's got, like, if you look right here is the product gallery. Here you can look at like virtually everything that's ever been made in S-scale. So you wonder, gee, did they ever make this steam locomotive in S-scale? You can come here and click on it. And here's, various ways you can search it up to see if that model was ever made. So, if you're at all curious about what you could find in S or what's been available made in S, I'm having a little trouble here because let me just close that. So, again, we have some S-scale layouts that, people have their layouts. They have pictures of their layouts on here. The product gallery, everything that's ever been made. Here's some how-tos and resources. Over here, we have the NASG store and news and events and clubs. Of course, if you're interested, is there an S-scale club in my area? Here's a listing of all the clubs, again, by region, by state, whatever. So, if you're at all curious about S-scale, I highly recommend that you go to nasg.org. Here it is again, right? There's about, okay. So nasg.org and come on in, look around. Somebody there, they can put you in touch with somebody who can answer a question if you're at all curious of S-scale. That's what I got. Thanks for coming. And like I said, if you're in the Harrisburg area, next year, let's see, we had a 1 day, you could get in a 1 day admission for $30. If you wanted to just come in and kind of check out the vendor hall, possibly maybe go to a clinic or something, that we had a 1-day admission. Normally to sign on for all 4 days, you kind of have to be an NASG member. So you'd have to take out a membership. And the 4-day registration was $60 last year. Again, I imagine it's going to be about the same this year, but we did run you could come in for a single day for $30 if you're interested in, just checking things out. So we hope to see you next year in Harrisburg. It was a great time. The hotel was great. They were really nice. Everything worked out. So we're happy to go back.
You come in by air. What airport do you come into, Jen?
Harrisburg. The Harrisburg International, they run a shuttle service out to the airport. I was looking, I actually found this hotel by going to the Pennsylvania Railroad Convention a couple of years ago, the Pennsylvania Railroad Technical and Historical Society.
Yeah.
And I looked at their website today. They call it the Airport Sheraton. Okay. I was told that the name of the place is the Harrisburg Hershey Sheraton, but the Pennsylvania Railroad calls it the Airport Sheraton. So it's right. I rode my bike past the airport a couple of times. It's not very far away.
Gotcha.
So
Well,
as far
so
as the train station goes, it's also very handy to the train station. I personally made 6 trips to the train station during the convention to either pick people up or drop people off. So if you come by train, we'll come get you. So,
Jamie, thanks so much for telling us about your convention. Best of luck to it.
Thank you. And like I said, if you're at all curious, come on by. We'd love to have you.
Thanks again, Jamie. Well, now I want to turn to Bob Davidson for his dollar store treasures. Bob, welcome.
Well, good evening, Jim. Let's share the screen and get this going. So welcome back to Dollar Store Treasures, where every week I head out to the local Dollar Tree store and see what they have up and down the aisles. Tonight I was in 3 different aisles this week. So I started off in the hardware aisle, and this is kind of interesting because I found these foam brushes. Now this is an 8-piece set for $1.25. They also have foam brushes in the craft aisle, but you only get 4 of them there. So if you just wander on over to the hardware aisle, you can get 8 of them. And you can see here, I think you get 3 1-inch and 3 2-inch, and then a 3-inch and a 4-inch. So it's very nice. These are just disposable, and for $1.25, you get 8 of them. So that's a pretty good bargain.
All right.
Next, we're going to head over into the craft aisle. And I happen to find this, and I mean, obviously it's not the greatest quality, but if you're in a pinch and you're somewhere out of town or something and you don't have a knife set, you get 6 blades and a metal holder. It is an aluminum holder. And you can see it has a variety of X-Acto type blades. And again, $1.25, you can't go bad. Now we go into the back to school aisle. They're kind of heavily populated this time of year. And if you remember back in one of the workshops last year, I showed that you can pick up a compass and a protractor. And I actually, at the time, they had some triangles in a kit and stuff. But again, you get a nice little compass, uses a golf style pencil and a protractor for $1.25. So nice if you need them to do layout work, figure out angles, whatever. And then I also found these. I try to keep a track of all the paint colors that I use, and things that any custom stuff I put into a model, or even information about cars or something like that. And it's not a big savings, but I looked this up. You pay $3 at Staples to get 250 cards. And I paid $1.25 to get some lined index cards there. So all kinds of deals that you can find at your local dollar store. So I suggest that you check it out. We're all on a fixed budget. So it's a good way to save some money. And frankly, the stuff is, most of this stuff is pretty decent quality. So as I said last week, you kind of have to keep going back. You'll find different brands, but there's good stuff there. So until next week, that's Dollar Store Treasures. Thank you, Jim.
It's hard to believe you can buy some of that big brushes for $1.25. Where are you going to
I know. Usually they're like 39 cents a piece or 49 cents a piece in a paint store.
Yeah. I mean,
And you're going to throw them out anyway once you use them once. I mean, so there you go.
Unbelievable. Well, thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, Tom Farrell was normally going to be here tonight, but Tom had to be out of town. So we're not going to have him on the show this evening. So I want to go next to Mark Poggendorf. And Mark, as you know, talks about and has guests that represent the hobby shop industry. And these are brick and mortar hobby shops. And Mark, thank you so much for doing this and welcome.
Am I unmuted?
There you go.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jim. It's always a pleasure coming on here and introducing people. And tonight I have a gentleman. His name is Wes, and he's with Just Trains down in Concord, California. So, Wes, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, great. Well, Wes, first off, why don't you introduce yourself? Talk a little bit about your store and what you're all about here. Let's hear what you got going.
Well, Just Trains has been in Concord for about 40 plus years. We're one of the longest running trains shops in existence, Northeast Bay. I am the soon to be third owner of the store. Jim Anthony, who's the current owner, has decided that he's ready to retire. So I'm taking over the mantle and hope we can be here for another 40 years.
That's great.
I didn't even plan on being a train store owner. That was not I had never in my wheelhouse thought that I would be running a train store. I've been in the hobby since I was a little kid.
Subscriptions are you paying for?
Let's see, I was probably the fourth grade. I got my first Bachman starter set under the Christmas tree. And my dad was not paying attention and hooked up the cords wrong and blew the motor out, running it on the AC side, not the DC side. But taught me well. And I've been a customer at Just Trains going on 10 years. I started out as an in-scaler with Just Trains. And then as COVID hit and I lost my job, I used to joke with Jim and his wife, Rosita, says, I'll come to work for you guys. I'll come to work for you guys. And then when my job finally closed up and they said they were no longer needing my position, I happened to be in the shop buying some track, and Rosita says, come down and talk to us. And that was 2 years ago. So we are brick and mortar. We are working really hard to become an online store. That is the next step for us, is to be online. It's the just-trains.com is there. It's kind of shoppable. It's not the best, but we're working on it. We're totally taking stuff eBay now. I've got a good staff. I've incorporated some good people in there, and we're moving into the 21st century.
Well, that's great. What scales and what product lines do you offer in your store?
So we are everything from in scale all the way up to G scale. We do offer pretty much anything that you can get from Athearn, Walthers, Heartland Hobby. We carry Tamiya paints, True Colors, Evergreen Plastics, Plastistruck, all the glues, anything that you can think of in and all between. And we have a huge consignment section. That has been our bread and butter the last year. So that's going to be the focus of our eBay store, is all the really interesting consignment stuff that we are taking in. And I mean, box loads every week. We've got stuff coming in left, right, and central.
Well, that's great. Have you noticed that the economy's down and a lot of people are consigning their trains or selling them? We are.
I noticed that I'm taking in a lot more of the, hey, grandpa has passed away, or dad has downsized and doesn't have the room. And I'm really impressed at the younger generation. I'm seeing the shift of 65 plus and older kind of slowing down and thinning out. And then 35 or so and younger, they're eating this stuff up. They're not the modelers. They don't build. They don't know how to kit batch stuff. They don't want to scratch build anything. They don't want to build it. They are definitely ready to run. DCC is their blood. I mean, we've got a full layout on our store, 250 feet long, a 2 mainline tracks, a small yard. And it's getting to the point now where I kind of have to remind myself, oh, what switches do I need to toggle to go to DC? Because everybody's running DCC these days. They like that ready to rock and roll, put it on the track and run it. And the electronics, these kids are just out there. They're super detailing the inside of their diesel locomotives with light clusters inside the locomotives where they're lighting the dash. And I'm like, it blows my mind. I'm a scenery guy. I'll build trees all day long. You need stuff painted. You need stuff sculpted. I'm good. Don't point me in the direction of lights, electricity. No. Yeah. I'll probably burn something down.
Oh yeah. Now that you're getting into this thing pretty heavy, what are some of the hurdles you guys have noticed, either getting product, different kind of things like that you're trying to overcome with a brick and mortar business? Because as you know, we do have a number of hurdles. What are you experiencing?
For me, it is just the constant cork. What cork? I can't get cork. And I mean, guys are coming in saying, I heard you can't get cork. I got a couple boxes. I will give you literally pennies off of full price. Just please bring me, as long as it's good. Cork has been really hard to get. DCC, like electronics and stuff, that's been a really, and anything plastic injected, all these companies like Grantline, Detail Associates, a lot of folks are still trying to do that. But I heard some of the folks talking earlier about 3D printing. We have a phenomenal 3D printer guy, and it's the CAD. Taking it, he designs it. It has saved our butt. I can't tell you how many times people coming in looking for a specific detail part, and they have one. I have one pack left, and I need it to be able to do my SP, and they did a specific headlight, rear and front. I have one. I have 8 of these locomotives I want to detail them. He was able to print them out for us. So that's the saving grace. 3D printing, resin printing is going to save the hobby.
Yeah, it's becoming big for us too. We got a couple of guys, same thing. What are you guys doing to like community outreach, get people in your store, different events, stuff like that? Do you guys do anything like that?
We do. Coming up on October 1st, our annual open house. So what we do is we encourage every local modeler club to come down, set up their modular layouts, and just get them all set up. We take over the whole parking lot, and I go to all my neighbors and say, okay, here's your guys' extension cord. Plug me into your outlet, and then we just take over the parking lot, and we set baggers comes. We've got several different O scales, G scale, CMRS, which is the local club in Crockett. They come down and they set up. I believe Golden State's got a table this year. The list is as long as my arms. We've even got a gentleman who's trying to get it put together. It's a Briggs & Stratton 2-stroke motor inside of a locomotive put together, and he's going to put his track down, and he's getting everything. So we're crossing our fingers. We'll have a little attraction for some of the kiddos to ride this year.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I've been down to that thing in the past, and it's really a packed day. So it's a great way to do it.
And we work hand in hand with CMRS, Carquinez Model Railroaders Society over in Crockett. I'm a member. So for us, it was just kind of a natural. Dave Tadiosin, the former president, he worked really hard with Jim, and we work hand in hand. Getting out there, just me showing up at these clubs, walking in saying, hey guys, here's my card, the Junior League Association. When I first started working at Just Trains, we had a few youngsters that didn't have the space at home to run a layout. So I'm like, hey, this summer, Wednesday mornings, your parents are going to school or going to work, drop them off, bring them here, let's run. And they would come run in the morning for 3 or 4 hours. And we were teaching them how to put couplers on their cars, how to swap out their wheels for metal wheels, how to clean track, that was our biggest thing. And now CMRS has taken that, and they have it 4 times a year, and they have 10 kids at a time coming in and learning the hobby. And we're talking, these are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids coming in and learning the hobby. So that's the outreach there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot more children and younger people getting into this hobby. For a while, you heard, oh, it's dying hobby, everybody's getting old. But now all of a sudden, like you said, we're seeing this rejuvenation of the hobby, bunch of young people. But you're right, they don't have the scratch building skills. They don't care. They want to take it out of the box and put it on the layout. So
It's all about the bells and whistles. All about the bells and whistles.
Yep. Now, do you guys offer clinics or stuff like that in your store also? Or?
So in the past, no. Joan, the previous owner, Jim, he took it and he was kind of rolling with it, but COVID kind of hit right in the middle of his tenure. So we haven't had an opportunity, but yes, we want to start offering classes on scenery most of the time. And I really wish I had some pictures to show you all of the layout, which I'll take some pictures. They'll be posted to our website. But we want to start doing the plaster casting and how to do dry brushing techniques, how to use the resin casting and how to sculpt that and paint it. So we have people asking us all the time because we're redoing our layout. We've ripped out about a third of our layout and we've laid new track. We're building a whole new section to it. Yeah, so the folks that are seeing that, they are really like, how did you do that? Where, and it's just all stuff right over there on the spinners from Woodland Scenics. And they're like, oh, I want to do. So yes, the need is there. And it's something that we're going to start picking up this winter. It's on our list.
Well, that's great. Jim, do you have any questions for Wes?
Well, Wes, I'll tell you, I'm so impressed to hear what you're saying, because it's owners like you and hobby shops like you that are really trying to build the hobby. I understand price is a factor in everything that we buy these days, but without the hobby shop industry out there doing the kind of outreach and the kind of searching for ways to increase our hobby, it is a downhill slope. And I admire you so much for what you're doing for our hobby. It sounds fantastic.
I have a lot of folks call me a glutton for punishment. What the heck are you thinking? And I mean, I look at some really other good stores like Arnie's down in Southern California, and I look at a couple of the other ones back east that or Midwest that we deal with. And, and they're, we're, they say, oh, we're, our store is only a couple hundred square feet, but we're a warehouse and most of our business is online. We're about 3,000 square feet of retail space. So we have, we try to do as best as we can to do work. We work well with Athern, Horizon Hobbies. We carry a lot of their product. We carry, anything you can think of from Walthers, we get from Walthers. We do 15% off MSRP for locomotives straight off the bat to get people into the store. And we've got a full service repair shop. I've got 2 really talented repair guys that are really, knocking out of the park. They're really learning. We have a good rapport with, it's called Engine House Electric Trains in Gridley. Scott Douglas, he's our vintage O-scale repair guy. One of my guys is going up and training with him so he can start learning how to repair, tear apart, because every day we get carcasses of O-scale stuff in, and it's just beat to a point. But the only thing it's good for is parts, because nobody's making those. So we pull those in and we try to just salvage as much as we can, because a lot of folks will come in and they'll say in the O-scale industry, I don't care how much it costs to repair it. I'm paying for a memory. I'm paying for sentimentality. This was my dad's. He got it Christmas in 1955. I want this one to run, and I don't care that I could buy another one for $75. I'm willing to spend $250 for you to put a new E-unit in it, convert the smoke unit from pellets to a reservoir so you can actually use the drops in it. So yeah, that's kind of where the industry, it's about customer service every day. Just smile. You got to put a smile on your face, and you're going to get those grumpy customers. But the smile and then just being happy and positive goes a long way. And it's the newbies. When you walk in the store, yeah, I'm going to spend 4 hours talking to a newbie, how to do it. And he may walk out of the store with $50 worth of stuff, or he may walk out of the store with $3,000 worth of stuff. So it's just spending the time with those people, and it's just putting it out there, and that's where it's at. It's customer. And so it's funny. I did a TikTok page during COVID just to keep myself busy. And I did some stupid stuff, and I, haha. And then I started working for Just Trains, and I was just recording 30-second little blurbs. And now those little 30-second blurbs have 500, 600, 700 views. I've got 500 followers and 8,000 likes, and they could care less about the stupid stuff that my teenage daughter's doing. They're like, "Hey, Wes, when are you going to post the new what's running on the track this week?" So it's the social media is, because these kids, the younger generation, they want to see it before they can, and they see it. They want to see it run. So if I can take a brand new locomotive out of the box, put it on the track, and make a joke about it, it runs great. Or, ooh, we need to work on this one a bit. They love that. They like that tangibility that, that a lot of you can't get, you just can't get, because they're seeing it and then they're coming to the store and they're touching it. And that's the good part. That's getting them off of the social media page and into the store.
Wes, what do you see the brass market doing?
So that's a good question. I am a sucker for brass. I love brass. I don't know how to paint it. The last one I spent, I got a 3-truck Shay, had some custom work done on it. I spent more for it to be painted than I paid for it. But right now I want to say brass is it's dying. Folks they don't DCC well unless you remotor it. And then sometimes you have to put new wheels underneath them, get them upgraded to nickel silver. Most folks that are buying them, they're show queens or shelf queens. They don't run them, but there's a few out there that are converting them to DCC, and but it's kind of stagnant now. The O scale stuff, though, that I was at O Scale West a couple weeks ago, about a month or so ago, and we had a pretty decent collection, and we sold a lot of locomotives and stuff not running. People didn't care. They were picking it up because in 2-rail O, they're hungry. They want it. Even some of the we even had some 3-rail brass stuff that I had never even seen that before. And we had a couple locomotives and they got snapped right up. But HO, in-scale brass is, it's going to the hybrid stuff now. Who is it? Broadway Limited, Paragon 4 doing their brass hybrids. They're great locomotives. I have Broadway Limited's Big Boy that they just released. And I mean, the detail parts that you get out of plastic, it's almost as superior as brass. But I love my brass. I'll never get rid of it. I'm going to keep running it. I have to, I'm spending $150, $350 buying a junked one just to get parts to repair it. I will be doing that because I do love my brass.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're noticing the same thing with the brass.
Anybody else have any questions for Wes or for Mark?
Oh, sounds great.
I agree with you 1,000% about the brass. I love my brass also.
Yep. I have a Blue Goose, and it's shorted 3 different times, and I've had to send it out 3 different times to get her back and running because she's just a beautiful locomotive. It's all of my Shays. I have a Climax 2-truck Shay, 3-truck Shay. I even have a 4-truck Shay coming. I was able to acquire. There's just certain things you can't get in plastic or people don't make, and you're only going to get them in brass. That's going to be brass's saving grace, is the fact that it's the unusual and the weird, or they only modeled them in brass and nobody's picked it up to run with it in a modern. That's going to be brass's only saving grace.
Well, I'm a B&O fan, and I have 7 B&O Q4s. 5 West Sides and 2.
My two favorite is I have an AC4 and I have an original, was it MDD1 cab forward, SP cab forward. I have those in brass and coveted. They will, without traction tires, they'll still pull 100 cars up a 2% grade and not even bat an eyelash. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Well, I'm going to stop bothering you.
No, no bother, no bother.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Wes. Well, thank you. Why don't you tell everybody again one more time where you're at, who you are, and what your hours are?
Just Trains. We are in Concord, California. Our phone number is 925-685-6566. Our email address is info@just-trains.com. We're in Concord, California. We're there Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5, and Sunday, noon to 4. We're closed on Mondays. And we do pre-orders for everybody. You need it, you want it, you know, we pre-order, we do all of that stuff. Yeah, myself or any of my staff members will be able to take care of y'all.
Great. Well, we appreciate having you on, Wes. Really, thank you. Really enjoyed
My
it.
pleasure. Thank you for having me, guys.
And Wes, thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it. And best of luck on your new business.
I thank y'all.
Mark,
Yeah, I'll
thank
talk to you soon, Wes.
Mark, thank you so much for bringing Wes and introducing him to us.
No
because
problem.
He's exactly what the hobby industry needs, in my opinion. And to hear him talk it's really refreshing. So thank you so much.
No problem.
That's why Jim hired me. He hired me for my personality, not my good looks.
No, that's great.
All right, gentlemen, take care.
All right, you too. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
Mark, thanks so very much. We will see you next month with another guest.
Sounds good, Jim. I'll talk to you soon too.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, now I want to turn to Gary Shurgold, NMR, who is finishing up, I believe, tonight, his machine shop. Gary, welcome.
Thanks very much, Jim. Tonight's going to be part 4 of a 5-part series.
Got one more then.
Yes. And what I'm going to talk about, just to do a share screen here. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about the machine shop. And whoop. I don't know why it does this. I got it set on part 4 and it jumps on me. Okay, last week, this is part of what we talked about was the painting of the walls. And I just want to clear up something tonight. Phase 4 is going to be finishing the windows and the roof completion. But what I want to do is, I want to go back. There was a little bit of confusion about this coloring. I mentioned last week that I had taken 3 colors and with a sponge did dabbing to do the painting of these walls. And then what I do is I do blending. Now, I use the 100 line shale, and a few of the guys were discussing that blending. Now, what I mean by blending, using the 100 line shale, you use very, very little. When you put this on your brush, you really work it in and thin it out. You can see some areas here where it's gray. That's okay because you want that effect, but you don't want to put that shale on really thick because if you do, you can lose all your coloring. It's the same when I do the stonework on the bottom. It's a very, very little on the brush and it's worked in almost like dry brushing, but it isn't dry brushing. So that sort of clears that up. Now, as you can see here, what I've done is I've stained put the wainscoting on, stained the inside, done the doors, and then here's a shot of the inside. Again, all stained The walls are all finished, ready to go. And then another shot of that blending that I do. And then we come to the windows. Now these are laser cut windows. And I had a number of them, or I have a number of them. And what I had done was, these windows are a little bit shy of the size of these windows. I needed 3 of them. So what I did was I took 3 of these windows, and then you can see here I've cut up pieces, and I've added them on so that they will fit in these openings. The windows were then, here they are here finished, and one has been placed in. Now this little section here, this window actually opens. You can twist it and it will open. So we go to the next slide. Now I painted them green, as you can see here, let them dry. And then here I have installed the windows all the way around. So we go to the next slide, show you the windows on the other side installed. And then I started on the roof. Now, earlier you saw how I put the roof together. So what I've done is painted the ends on both ends. And then I've taken pastels and done some weathering on the ends, a little bit of browns, some whites. Here are some browns and whites that are mixed in. And then the roof is put on, fitted, make sure everything is right, see if the coloring's right. And then what I did, you can see now I've added the chimney, exhaust fan, and I've done the deckling on the building. You can see here that some of the interior has been added. Little signs here and there. And this is the back part of the building. The roof, a little more weathering, some white pastel, and just dirty things up, makes things a little runny. Now, next week will be phase 5, showcasing the finishing building. And you'll see what I've done to the interior. Thanks to my buddy Pat Rivard, I ended up putting lighting in the building, and we'll discuss that next week. Thank you very much, Jim.
Well, you're really coming along with it, Gary. It really is starting to shape up beautifully.
Yeah, it came along quite nice.
Sure did. All right. So next week is the finish of it, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to showcase, see what the interior looks like.
I got you. Okay. Well, now I want to turn to Steve Sherrill for what do you want to talk about? So Steve, welcome. What do you want to talk about?
Well, tonight we're going to talk about something a little bit different. I think we're all aware of the Maui fires and the flooding in California and other catastrophes that have been occurring. Even some of us may have experienced a fire or a lightning striking us or a house or something like this. So I began to think about how many of our model railroaders friends have been affected by these catastrophes. And of course, at this moment, we probably don't know unless we know personally who lived in Maui or who was involved in the California floods and that kind of thing. But then I also got to thinking about insurance for my railroad. How I have an investment in my railroad, 30 years with this layout. And if something like that happened to me, a fire or, a plumbing leak that ruined, several buildings or that type of thing. So I went to my neighbor who owns an insurance agency, and I spoke to him today, and I said, what can I do? How can I get coverage for this? And he said, well, your homeowners only usually covers $1,000 or something in that area. And I said, well, my layout is probably worth a lot more than that if I was to have to rebuild it. Couple models, we were just talking about in Just Trains. If you have these articulated, they're probably $3,000 or $4,000 for one engine. If they were to be ruined, you'd be out that kind of money. So, and speaking to my friend who has the insurance agency, he said, and he was with Nationwide. He's not my insurance man, by the way. He said, well, you need to increase your coverage and include this type of addition. But he said, you're better off if you go to a company that specializes in this type of coverage. And so I said to him, well, can you help me out and give me some tips where I can go? So he said, yeah. So he went on his computer. He said, well, what's the NMRA? And I said, well, that's the National Model Railroad Association. And he said, well, they have an insurance. And you might want to look into that. Now, I'm not a member of the NMRA at this point, but I got on the website and I looked up the model insurance. And what I discovered was this is model railroaders talking to model railroaders about things that they might lose and how you would recover your losses. And they talk about items like getting your stuff valued. They talk about some of the formulas for replacements. They have a company that they deal with, and the company is called J.A. Bash Company, and they're in Pittsburgh. And they have a phone number you can call. And if you look up on NMRA, NMRA model insurance, they take you to this. You don't have to be a member to get on this site, by the way. You can just look it up and see. That's one of the benefits. Now, they do have various categories, and they have different plans. One is called an inventory plan, one is called a blanket plan, and one is called a layout plan. And then they explain what the different plans are. And most of what we have is probably going to be a layout plan, which covers everything that we would have. Now, what they have is a blanket. In the blanket plan, that covers up to $200,000 value. Most of us probably don't have that much. There may be some that have a large brass collection, which that would be. But what they say is take photographs of all your equipment, your layouts, underneath your layout, because your bench work is something that has to be insured. All your electronics, so that if something like this should happen, you need to be able to show them, hey, this is what I have, this is what I want to replace. And then you have a basis to have verification of what you had on your layout. They also go into basic coverage, which, in other words, they have a coverage plan. If you're a member, they have a plan that will cover up to a certain amount based on the 3 plans that I told you about. It's like $100, and depending on the plan, they will cover 13,000 in one of the categories, 16,000 in another category, and on up like that. All this information is on their website. Now, I think that it's well worth looking into, and everybody who has a layout and any substantial investment in model railroading needs to get insurance on this type of thing. You never know when it's going to happen. A plumbing leak is a great example. If you got a basement, you go away, pipe leaks, you come back, there you are, you know. But I just wanted to put that in there. I think it's well worth mentioning, and I don't think that we deal with this very often, but I think we need to do it. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them as best I can. But I do believe that we ought to discuss this as a group.
Steve, this is Jeff Jordan. I wanted to mention that I just did that. Indeed, I've been a member of the NMRA on and off for 3 or 4 times. I just rejoined the NMRA specifically for the reason you stated, so that I could purchase that insurance, and went through the whole process of obtaining a policy on my collection. The outfit in Pittsburgh is a super group of people to deal with. If you have questions, you can call them up and talk to them, and they know what you're talking about. And so my policy not only includes my layout, rolling stock, structures, unbuilt kits, it also includes my railroadiana collection, lanterns and the like. I did the inventory approach, which I think is a very good discipline, to sit down and actually list what you got, what you paid for it, what you think it's worth. And this is like much collector insurance. It's declared value insurance. You tell them what you got and how you value it, and they will basically insure your good faith values. The only caveat being that if you undervalue your collection, you suffer loss, you will suffer a shortfall. But the declared value is the value, and it's very reasonably priced. I strongly agree with your suggestion that we've all spent a lot of years accumulating impressive collections, and in my case, a little over $100, I got an annual policy on my whole collection.
So you went above the minimum premium on the inventory coverage?
Yeah, well, I did the inventory, actually set out the values of my collection, added it all up, and then multiplied it by the factor they provide on the form, and the total came out to more than $100 worth. I think if you do an inventory or the basic, you have to buy $100 worth. That's their minimum. And
Right.
As you say, that covers somewhere between $13,000 to $16,000 worth of material. And my collection came out slightly above that number. So I paid slightly more than $100.
Well, I definitely think it's worth looking into. I think I'm going to be joining the NMRA now for that coverage. I think that, if something happens, I want to be able to like rebuild. And I know someone who had this happen a while back, and they had a plumbing leak and it went on some items, and they actually got estimates for replacing it from a professional builder. And at the time, I think they were getting $25 or $35 an hour, and they estimated how many hours it cost to scratch build that. And they went ahead and paid for that, believe it or not. So I'm just saying that if you go to this website, again, NMRA model insurance. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to be a member. Just go and look. And if you don't do anything but use the NMRA for this to benefit you, it's well worth the time and money.
Steve,
Yes.
Pat here. I've experienced both a fire for total loss and a flood from a leaky pipe. So I know exactly where you're coming from. But in Canada here, I put a rider on the second one because the first happened in the 70s and they didn't have that kind of coverage from the NMRA. So the second one, I put a rider on my policy to cover what I figured was worth on the layout. And I'm glad I did because I experienced that flood damage from a leaky pipe. And I'll tell you, that's a sad thing to see when you go downstairs and everything's floating around in the water. So I know what it's all about.
Well, I'm just, we don't know how many of our friends are involved in this Maui fire where it destroyed everything. There's nothing to recover. I'm sure there are some, I'm sure there are some of them, but it's just, it's worth looking at. And if you don't, take the NMRA type of insurance look, ask your own policy holder, because you'll be surprised that you don't have as much insurance on items as you really think. So that's it for tonight. If there are any more questions, we can certainly talk about this for a while, I'm sure.
Steve, I couldn't agree more with you because I priced it through my regular policy versus what the NMRA would cost me. And the NMRA is so much cheaper.
Yeah. Well, and if you go to the site, they explain stuff to you in model railroad type terms, whereas your regular insurance guy, he doesn't know about rolling stock, the value of anything, or 3-foot section. You're talking to the moon,
Yeah.
So we're talking to, train guys on this.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing this subject up because it's something that we don't talk about enough. Maybe we just don't think about it either enough, but it's really a worthwhile discussion to have. And thank you so much for bringing it up.
Okay.
Well, now I want to turn to Chris Course for our MyBuild this evening. And I understand we've got some spectacular models to show you. Before we start with that, we'd like to run a short video of our sponsor.
Welcome to the world of scale, O&S railroading. We are your resource for all O&S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
I've been writing for both of those magazines now for a little bit over 6 years. And I do it for 2 reasons. Number one, the subscriber doesn't pay anything for the magazine. So anybody that wants to read the magazine and the articles that are carried can do that for free. And the second reason is it's all about bringing building back into model railroading. And we heard earlier tonight from one hobby shop owner where the people that are coming into our hobby are not interested in building models. Or scratch building or kit bashing or anything like that. They just want to buy it, open the box and put it on track or put it on a piece of plywood. And that's just a different philosophy than when I grew up and frankly, what I believe in. I believe we need to bring modeling back into our hobby. And that's why I write for both of these magazines. So with that said, Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jim. We'll go ahead and head off to our PowerPoint this evening. Come on, there we go. Okay. This month we have the August Challenge of Harvest because we're coming into that time of year. Let's see here what happened. Why? Oh, it started at the end. My apologies. There we go. Okay, here we are. Of course, it's my build for August 23rd, 2023, and it is, of course, featuring you. Like I said, I'm your host, Chris Kors, and we're going to go over harvest themed stuff. First up, we've got Greg Cassidy. You up, Greg?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are. All right. So it looks like we've got 5 slides for you tonight.
All right. This was something I built many years ago. It's a kit from Medford Trains, and the kit is called the Mail Pouch Barn. It was one of the first laser cut kits that I built, and there wasn't much laser cutting to it except the shape of the walls for the most part. But I didn't want to just build it the way that the kit came. I had a couple ideas that I wanted it to be really falling apart. And I also know that we wanted some farm equipment, so I had a little plow thing that I had put in this scene back then. And I thought, well, that counts too. Next. One of the things I did was age the wood quite a bit. I was still learning how to use stains and dry brushing, but what I did ended up coming out pretty good. And the wood itself, I was able to scrabble it enough that it looked like it was falling apart. I added a number of details. I built the door that went on that little shed on the back. Next slide. And one of the things I wanted to show was that a tree had actually fallen on part of the barn. So I took the corner of the little extension and kind of crushed it a little bit, had the roof caved in, and then had a tree that had fallen onto it and put some vines growing over it. I also had a lot of fun with this roof. It was just supposed to be rolled paper, but I wanted to have a rusty metal roof. So I cut the metal panels to shape and I built a frame to hold the roofing. And then all the metal panels, I took and soaked them in ferric chloride, being very careful, wearing gloves and eye protection. And you wait until it starts to bubble, then you put it in some water with baking soda and rinse them off. And you actually have a rusty roof that doesn't just look rusty, it is rusty. I lost a few panels in doing that because they got a little too rusty, but I had enough extras that I was able to put a roof together. Next.
Sorry, I was writing stuff down here. There we go.
And then it just had a normal set of barn doors. I built this little rolling door out of just some odds and ends that I had laying around. And had a little dog laying in the sun there, you know, just taking a nap like dogs are going to do. Is that it?
Yep, that's the last slide, Greg.
Okay, well, this was my mail pouch barn, and you know, I just built a little diorama. Again, this was one of my very first ones. I'd built the layout, so I kind of knew some of the stuff, but building a diorama opened up a whole new world for me, and I haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, I remember seeing these photos of this quite a while ago, and it still holds up very well.
Thank you, Chris.
Greg, this company, Medford, you said?
Yes, Medford Trains.
Are they still around?
I'm afraid not. The gentleman lived down not that far from you. He had grown up here in Maryland and was a Western Maryland fanatic. His name was Jim Koshin. And when he retired down there, he started making laser cut kits using a couple of the laser cut kit manufacturers to do the cutting for him, and primarily made Western Maryland structures. And he came out with a fair line of them. and a couple other buildings that weren't specific to any railroad like this barn. But I'm afraid we lost him back in 2020. And if anybody ever comes across any of his kits, they're well worth getting. They're not great on directions, but they have a lot of heart in them.
It's a neat looking model.
Yeah, if I remember right, he came to Timonium a few times.
Oh, yes, he would come up to Timonium for every winter show and bring a bunch of his kits to sell and a lot of his built-up kits to show, which was difficult when he was flying on a plane. He'd have to package all this stuff, and he shipped things a couple of times, but there was a tragic loss of a roundhouse at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was one of Jeff Grove's
yes,
friends. So from
Thank you.
Carolina Craftsman Kits. Are there any more questions for Greg before we move on? All righty, and thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Chris.
Awesome as usual. All right, next up, Phil Edholm. You up, Phil?
Phil's at the NMRA convention, so he won't be with us.
All right, maybe I can get because I sent some stuff down there. Maybe I can get some feedback on if you saw it or not. All right, looks like Phil had 7 slides to share. Looks like this is some trackling that he did. If I remember right, I remember looking at it going, what does this have to do with fall? But I think it actually does lead into it. So hang with us. We'll get there. But looks like he had a building that he was putting together on the left there. Some more work, a little looks like a pen on the bottom right. And there it is. There's the connection. Got looks like some is that avocados sitting there in the bucket or in
That's
the
what it looks like.
Yeah. All right. So there's a connection. And then there's some cow pens there. And a little bit more. Looks like some apples possibly getting ready to go off to wherever they get distributed to. Being dropped off by was that a Model A pickup truck? All right. Oops, that was it. So all right, so we'll move on to Jeff Jordan. You up, Jeff?
I'm
See
here.
you there. All
I'm
right.
here.
All right. Looks like you've got a couple of slides on here.
Yep. So, harvest time in Southwest Colorado. This still needs the corral. I haven't built the pens yet. The boxes, the proverbial box of sticks. But I'm very, very, very happy with what I've got so far. I was held up for a long time looking for sheep. And then you go on eBay and they want to sell you 3 sheep for $10. And needless, that wasn't going to get anywhere. And I ran into a fella whose son 3D prints. He does Dungeons and Dragons. He prints elves and knights and so on and so forth. And I said, I've been dying to get some sheep. Do you think you guys could 3D print some sheep for me? And he came back a week later with 30 some odd sheep. So these guys are all 1/48 scale, 3D printed. You see, he did them 2 different ways, with and without the little bases. I'm not sure whether I'm going to cut the bases off. And then, so they were resin print. They've been primed with a flat white primer and then doused liberally with a brown wash, which is what the sheep coming off of the range at the end of the or in the fall look like. They don't look white woolly. They look like Colorado soil. So these guys are standing there and you can see the stock car in the background. And if you go to the next slide, we'll see some more stock cars. Okay, these are that the ramp there was a item I found on eBay. Scale. It was much too big, but it was all laser cut wood, and so it was, infinitely alterable. And so I could cut it down to match the height of the Bachmann stock cars in the background. And then eventually there will be pens around that as well. But these are very well-behaved sheep. And it is right up by the snow sheds, which is the way it was on the Rio Grande Southern. And so here's some stock cars. The top one is actually starts as a stock out of the box Bachmann stock car. And it's a bit of a challenge today to find an undecorated one, but this one started as an undeck freight car red. And then I added my own letterboards, added a San Juan design brake wheel, much nicer than the one that Bachmann provides. And those are San Juan decals for the Rio Grande Southern. Then the bottom one is a bit of a project. The first one is basically out of the box, some lettering and some weathering. The bottom one is also a Bachmann stock car, but I wanted to replicate the distinctive Denver and Rio Grande Western stock car. And so you see that it's double sheath. And so I started out with the Bachmann car. Of course, I had to trim down the ladders, added grab irons, added the double sheathing. That is all evergreen styrene sheet or strips to a scale size to give you the double sheathing, added the letterboards. Again, San Juan design or San Juan decals. They make really nice replicas of the Rio Grande decals. And so applied the Rio Grande decals. Of course, the whole thing had to be painted a flat black, which is slightly cut. So it's not stark black. It's a slightly faded black. And again, another San Juan brake wheel and some weathering because these cars never stay clean. Oh, also underneath, you may recall the Bachmann cars come with vacuum brakes, which is rather 19th century. And so I cut off the Bachmann vacuum brakes and replaced them with K brakes. Again, detail parts available from San Juan. And so I have an assortment of stock cars, some Rio Grande Southern, some Denver and Rio Grande Western, and some Colorado and Southern, as you can see there, because when the Colorado and Southern went out of business, the Rio Grande Southern bought up some of their cars and they didn't bother to re-letter them. So it's really kind of, many narrow gauge railroads, you run only a single road name, and the Rio Grande Southern here, being controlled at that point by the Denver and Rio Grande Western, has Denver and Rio Grande Western cars, has Colorado and Southern cars, and has its own Rio Grande Southern cars. So we got a nice assortment of stock cars in the string. I think that's it.
Yep, that's it.
That's
All right,
some
any
nice,
questions?
that's some nice research you did to find that out too, Jeff.
Well,
Yeah.
The Rio Grande Southern is blessed with a 12-volume set called the RGS Story. I don't think any railroad, even the Pennsylvania Railroad, has got a 12-volume set of 400 pages in each of the 12 volumes. This thing is mind-boggling, the detail that they have on the Rio Grande Southern. You could spend hours and hours going through these books. They're a terrific resource for the Rio Grande Southern.
Yeah, no, the Rutland actually has a similar thing. It's called 60 Years of Trying. And those things, it's funny because there's some of them, there's a lot of them out there, and then there's some of them, there's only a few. So I think I'm missing one of them, but there's quite a bit of stuff out there on the Rutland anyway. But
Yeah, and to research the sheep, I resorted to the internet to see what sheep should look like in Colorado.
All righty. Any questions for Jeff before we move on? All righty, fantastic as usual there, Jeff. Thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you very much.
And next we'll move on to Mitch Lovelace. Mitch, are you here? I know this is actually a holdover from last month because Mitch sent me a ton of stuff saying, hey, I really want some feedback on this. And I I've got to work tonight. So I was like, well, why don't we hold off till next month? And if Mitch is up, then hopefully he can chime in. And but
He's
either
not
way, we'll
here,
go over
Chris.
this. What's that?
He's not here tonight.
Okay. All right. So it looks like we've got 7 slides for him. So we'll just go over those real quick. He is working on a city scene.
What scale is that, Chris?
He didn't say, but it does look kind of small. I'm kind of thinking it might be N scale because
Yeah,
those
that's
kind of
about-
look like, or maybe HO, because those kind of look like about Matchbox car size.
Mm-hmm.
But he did some did quite a lot of work on this one little scene.
It's nice modeling, though. You know, for that size.
Yeah, I imagine I'm guessing it's probably HO scale, and I'm gonna guess that those are DPM plastic buildings that he used. He probably used a bunch of them.
Yeah.
To build this. But he said if I remember right, he talked about some of this stuff is he kind of took names and things from either his past or where he's currently living and kind of pulled from that. So I think that's where your Fresh Ink Studio and a place called Mistakes came from. I'm wondering if there's a little joke behind this. Looks like a garbage truck with some stuff on the ground behind it. And he sent a really interesting picture of a roof. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is something that I try to keep in mind whenever I build a kit is, let's face it, for the most part, people are going to see the roof more than anything else. And he showed you in this shot what the roof looks like. So he's putting it all out there. It looks like for a roof, I mean, there's a pretty decent amount of detail on it.
Yep.
Huh. And then as the sun goes down, we take a look at what he was working on the insides. He did some, I'm going to guess and say that those are probably LEDs that he put in there. And I'm not sure exactly how he got those the pictures in there, whether it was like what do you call it, like slide film, or if he purchased those or had them made. I'm not sure how he did that.
Looks nice though.
Yeah, it did come out nice. But wait, there's more. Yeah, so you see a lot of he put a lot of time and effort into this, that's for sure.
It's a believable looking scene, the way that he's done it, seems to me.
Yeah. All right, looks like that's the last slide. So Mitch, if you're watching this later or on YouTube, whatever, please let us know what you were doing with how you did the windows.
Yeah. And what scale you're working in.
Yep. Yeah, I imagine it's probably HO.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have a new entrant, Edward O'Rourke. Edward, are you up? Okay.
I don't believe he's here tonight, Chris.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think he's at the convention.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go over his stuff. Looks like he's got 2 slides on here. And okay, so I'm pretty sure what he did here is he took and he did some detail work and some weathering work on this car. I'm not sure what scale it's in. I'm guessing it's going to be O scale. Jeff, maybe you have a better idea than I do as to whether that's O scale or HO.
I was studying the couplers. They kind of look like standard KDs, don't they?
Yeah, I think you're right. So it's probably is HO. So, all right, so that's the first one. And then I believe there's another car, or actually another 2 cars. There we go. So he did some nice work on these, at least detailing them. It came out pretty decent. He did some good work with getting just a little light amount of weathering on that bottom one there. The top one, it's got a little bit. It's barely on there, but you see it. I mean, that could be a car that was recently. I don't know if railroads washed the cars or not, but or maybe it was brand spanking new and just had a little bit of road dust on it. But those are his 4 entrants for us.
Very nice.
Yeah, thanks for sending those in, Edward. And next time you come up, please let us know, and we'll gladly talk about this. Oh yeah, look at that. He used spring trucks on those.
Yeah.
On the bottom one anyway. All right, David Roehring, are you up? All right. Looks
I don't
like
think he's here either.
Yeah. All right. And the one photo he did send in fits very nicely into the whole harvest theme, because obviously there's people working on the farm there. You can see the barn across the street with their with the signs on it, as used to be as they used to do. I think that was a Vermont thing. I'm not sure. I imagine it was probably pretty widespread that they did that sort of thing. But got a nice little garden growing there. So thanks for sharing that, David. I don't know what scale it is. I'm going to assume it's HO. All right.
Can I interject a moment?
Sure, please do.
It's N scale, and the barn and the farmhouse are both paper builds.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Listen.
Boy, if that's true, Paul, then that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I designed the building, the farmhouse, and the barn is something that was picked up off the internet.
It's very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very nicely done. All right, we'll move on. Gary Shurgold, I know you're here.
I'm here.
There we go. All right. Looks like you've got 4 slides tonight.
Yeah, what we have here is a pickling grading station. And the front part was a kit, the building. The kit I got here a long time ago. It's of an actual grading station that existed in Ontario. Now the back portion, you see the pickle vats, and that sort of Heinz has sort of taken over, and they're starting to, as the pickles come in, they're starting to put them in vats and making different kind of pickle stuff from it. Now the vats themselves, at one time we used to be able to buy our stamps in 100-lot rolls. And what I used to do is save them after I used all the stamps. I saved the cardboard discs and then made vats out of them, board by board construction, and designing the tops. And a little crane there lifts the tops off, so
Nice.
guys don't have to handle the heavy stuff.
Is this HO?
This is HO scale. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
No. All right. Cool. Yeah. We're actually looking to do a pickle cart at some point here. So I actually it's sitting on my desk on the table here, but it'll get finished one of these days. All right. Let's do. I think there's more for you here. I think there was what, 4 slides.
Yeah.
Right, so there's your more pickle
Yeah,
cars.
what these are the Heinz cars coming in to pick up pickles also. And you can see in behind the Heinz car is this is a vehicle trailer that I had scratch built. And it's just that it picks up product that can't be shipped on the rails. So it would be probably going to a nearby factory, Heinz factory.
Now, is that something that you just came up with, or was that a real thing?
No, this is strictly my imagination.
Uh-huh.
Sort of a copy of the car itself, the rail car, but made to go on the road as a trailer.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that'd be kind of neat if you could just basically do like they do with intermodals, and then pick it up off of the rails, and then drop it onto onto the back of a trailer and just haul it on down the road.
Yeah, no, this was like when I built it, I built it as a trailer to go behind a tractor unit.
Yep.
You have no idea how much pickle stuff he has.
I'm a little fanatic about pickle cars. It's a little, the Heinz pickle sign is scratch built using the alphabet, wooden alphabets. And they, as I say, what you're looking at, with the exception of the crane, everything there is scratch built, and the exception of the barrels. They were, you get a barrel, you paint them, and I put a little product in them that it makes them look like they're full of water or brine.
Gary, I hate to be dumb. How do you grade pickles?
Believe it or not, that is a very small rice that was put into that brine material and then painted green. It's actually rice kernels, a small variety rice, and put in on the tops.
I'll be darned.
And painted green and make it look like pickles. It's a lot of fun.
It's all about fooling the eye.
I get a big kick out of making barrels.
It's nice. It really is. It's something totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out really cool.
Yeah.
All right, looks like, yep, one more. There we go.
Yeah, this is another shot showing basically the same thing, a little wider view, showing the pickle cars and
did you call this a pickle grading station?
Yeah, the grading station, what they would do is we actually have one just a little northeast of where I live. And what the farmers do is they bring the crop in, drop it off at the station, and it gets weighed and graded, and they collect their money, I guess.
Oh,
it gets put into trucks and cars and is shipped out.
Right.
It's a nice model. It's something really different. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about pickling is it seems like modelers, from what I can tell in research, it looks like a lot of modelers have either a pickling station or a brewery or both.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it came out very nice.
Yep.
All right. Are there any questions for Gary? All righty. Well, thanks, Gary. Thanks for sharing. Very unique as usual. We very much appreciate you sharing.
I thank you very much, Chris.
All righty. Let's see. James Spice, are you up, James?
I don't see
I
it,
don't think he's
Chris.
here either.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on. Well, we'll go through his stuff. Looks like he's got 2 slides here. First one is a looks like a livestock pen. Looks like it's probably got some sheep in there. I'm gonna guess that one kind of the way, just looking at the tracks, that looks narrow gauge to me. Does that sound right to everybody else? So
I don't know. Are they better sheep than ones Jeff had?
I don't know. It's a distant photo, so it's hard to tell.
They're cleaner.
They're not as dirty.
Oh, they got a bath. All right, and it looks like there's the back pen. If you see it in the back of this, see it in the back of this photo, and then he's basically did another shot where it's a little more close up. So he's got a nice little barbed wire fence where he's got everything, got all his sheep herded into a pen. That's very nice, very unique. You don't usually see stuff like that. It looks like they get a little pond to drink out of too. So, and an old tractor to look at.
Jeff, was narrow gauge more of sheep country?
That's Southwest Colorado with rather sparse range, and in the later years, that it was indeed sheep country. And the railroad did a lot to move them around, because in the spring they would take them from low pasture to high pasture and leave them in the high pastures all summer, and then come collect them in the fall. And this does look like Colorado narrow gauge sheep keeping as well. Look at the mountains in the background, and that pen is really kind of nice. I think that's the pens for sheep were actually set to 2 levels, because the stock cars for sheep, you could get an intermediate deck in there, and so they were double-decker stock cars, and the pen, the ramp had to be able to do the upper deck or the lower deck. And you can see on the left, the sheep is coming out at the lower deck, and the ramp up behind the guy on the right is set up at the height for the higher deck.
Oh, cool.
So nice. That's what my box of sticks will look like once it ever gets put together.
Well, all right. So it looks like that was it on that one. Father Ron, are you up?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I didn't know I had something sent in.
Yeah, I might have accidentally not hidden your slide, so we'll see here in a second. Yep, it's the one from the previous.
Okay.
So I like that little little church. That came out pretty neat.
Yes, it did.
There.
That's the interior of the warehouse.
Yep.
Yep.
All righty. So I apologize for that, but thanks.
right.
And you got an encore presentation out of it. What can I say?
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Ray Warner. Are you up, Ray?
I don't see
I don't
it,
think
Chris.
he's here either.
All right, looks like he's got 3 slides. None of the new guys showed up. That's crazy. All right, looks like he sent us some photos of a barn.
That's a big barn.
Yeah, it is a big one. It kind of looks like one of the old branch line kits, just based on the how it's got the peel and stick what do you call it, trim on it. I'm not doing well talking tonight, sorry. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of peel and stick. It does look like a branch line kit of some sort.
Yeah.
And he lit it up.
Yeah.
And
Man.
then an old Quonset hut.
What scale do you think that is, Chris?
I'm gonna guess and say it's HO, but it
Looks
might be O.
That looks like an awful big model.
Yeah, it does. That's what I'm saying is it might be O. But all right, and a Quonset hut looks like that was the last shot.
Yeah, that's a nice model. I like that.
Yep.
Chris, I have a question about branch line kits. I was just looking on the web and I can't find a website for them, but I find several other brand names that it looks like they manufacture kits for. Do you think they're still in business?
They're actually not in business. When I was at the at Amherst last year, I ran into a guy that works for Micromark, and he is actually he was doing a clinic at Amherst, and he was telling me that they purchased branch line trains, and they are actually he's part of his job is he is taking and essentially re-engineering all of those kits to get rid of the peel and stick, and in the process he's going through and putting T-sheet windows in all their products. So I said thank you, because I was not a fan of the I call them lick and stick'ems. I don't like the lick and or the peel and stick trim, because I have a I think it's called a Weimer's grist mill. I love that kit except for all the peel and stick parts.
Hey,
that go
Chris.
on. Yeah.
Greg, I just looked on the American Model Builders, AMB, makers of laser kit, and they have a barn that looks just like that one.
Okay, so it's an AMB
it looks
kit.
like they offer it in HO and O, so I don't know which this is.
All right, thanks for that info, Greg. Are you talking? You're talking about the barn.
Yep.
Okay, so I imagine, because if you're looking at the Quonset hut, they look to have there looks to be a family resemblance there to me.
Yeah.
Am I alone in that?
Yeah. You know, when I first saw that Quonset hut, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that a card model?
It kind of, it does look like that.
That one, that one does look like a card model, and it looks like it would be O gauge.
That's
And
what I was thinking.
What I'm going by is it looks like there's no relief in the corrugations on the Quonset hut itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just when you mentioned it, that's what I was thinking is it looks an awful lot like a paper or a card kit. So
It's a good looking model though, you know, for a card model or whatever, it's a good looking model.
yeah. So yeah, I kind of think if I were to do a Quonset hut, I'd use an old coffee can, cut it in half.
Yep. Yep.
But alrighty. And I believe, yep, that's it. So thanks to everybody that contributed. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people contribute tonight. So I think that was in terms of numbers, I think that's an all-time high. I'm just guessing, but I
think you're right. I just don't know why you scared them off.
Yeah, I don't know either. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people that have never contributed before, and I think that's huge. I think I want to thank everybody for participating, and if you've thought about participating, please do. As you know, we're no judgment, so just send us your photos. The next MyBuild will be September 20th. It's basically a free-for-all. So whatever you've got, whatever you're working on, whatever you have a question about, whatever you found at a garage sale, please email me those photos, railrunner130@hotmail.com. And please try to get me those photos by the 17th of September. That way it gives me a couple days to get everything compiled and put together. I think I did this one on Monday night. So that was nice. It wasn't really, pressured to shove in a lot of pictures at the last minute. So that helped out a lot. So thanks to everybody that contributed. If you haven't contributed before, please do so. So I will turn it back over to you, Jim.
Well, Chris, thanks so very much. I think it was a great show tonight, and I like the fact that we're getting new modelers.
Yes, definitely.
So that's wonderful news. Well, thanks so very much. And if you'll send me that information later, I sure would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm trying to take notes as I did it. That's why there's so many pauses.
I got you. Thanks again.
Yep.
Well, now we have to say that's our show for this evening. We hope that you've enjoyed it. We've got a great caboose for you that has been personally selected by Pat Rivard. So Pat, it's caboose time. That is something. Thank you, Pat. That's a great caboose.
You're welcome.
And thanks everybody for being here this evening. Hope you really enjoyed the show. Most importantly, we hope you learned something. So until next week, see you then.